Caught my stepson on the bath washing his tools, so I helped him Infidelity story through the door's aperture, I observed. Logan at the sink, his back turned towards me, shirtless with his shoulders slightly stooped, his hands worked with intention, perhaps concentrating on an object, but I could not discern what it was. I washed it and occasionally held it out of necessity. However, during those instances, I preferred to manipulate it, moving it up and down. I was uncertain of me thoughts. Your support means everything to us right now. 90% of our viewers haven't subscribed yet, and we really need your help to keep creating exciting content, so go ahead, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Now let me keep telling you the story and listen closely, because there's an incredibly shocking twist coming your way. Upon entering the restroom and unexpectedly encountering my stepson, I made a decision that transformed the occasion into one of the most exhilarating experiences of my life. The event started on an ordinary Tuesday. The house was tranquil, as it frequently was in the nights when my stepson, Logan, got home a little earlier than normal, his car parked orderly in the driveway. Logan had transcended boyhood. At 22, he exhibited a subdued confidence, although a hint of uncertainty permeated his interactions. After placing my bag down and removing my heels, I discerned the faint sound of running water from above me. Intuition indicated that Logan was in the shower. It was not uncommonless. There was a unique atmosphere. I attempted to dispel the persistent sensation as I occupied myself with a swift drink of water. The evening was anticipated to be unremarkable, including only me, Logan, and the soothing tranquility of our residence, as my partner David, Logan's father, was away on a business trip and would not return until the following morning. As I left the house, felt empty, earth and normal. Upon ascending the stairs, I observed that the bathroom door was slightly ajar, and the sound of running water intensified my curiosity, compelled me to take a seemingly innocuous glimpse. However, what I beheld rendered my mobile through the door's aperture. I observed Logan at the sink, his back turned towards me, shirtless with his shoulders slightly stooped. His hands worked with intention, perhaps concentrating on an object, but I could not discern what it was. His pants rested low on his hips, imparting an air of casualness that was unusual of him. Logan was always careful and restrained regarding privacy. An open door was nearly unprecedented. I paused briefly. Should I knock, shout, or shut the door in Elohim to remain undisturbed? Prior to my decision, the door creaked as I adjusted me weight, prompting Logan to turn around in astonishment. His eyes widened with alarm. "Oh, I was unaware you were home," he muttered hastily, attempting to retrieve a towel to conceal his previous activity. His speech trembled and his manner was unlike that of the collected young guy I had acclimated to. It, I did not intend to intrude, I stated hastily, diverting my gaze as my cheeks flushed with shame. I heard the water and suspected something was amiss, as his face flushed a deep crimson while he gazed down at the towel clenched tightly in his fist. "No, it is inconsequential." However, the quiver in his voice revealed his true emotions. Something was off. I sensed it in his evasion of eye contact and the manner in which his shoulders sagged, osto burdened by an unseen load. I paused, my hand still on the door's edgy. A portion of me wants to respect his privacy, while a more dominant and forceful part feels an urge to inquire. I gently addressed Logan as I entered the restroom, ensuring the door was closed behind me. "If there is an issue, you may inform me. I assure you that I will refrain from judgment." He tightened his hold on the towel, then relaxed it slightly. For a brief period I believed would remain silent. Nevertheless, he exhaled unsteadily and seated himself on the side of the bathtub. He confessed, somewhat embarrassed, his voice just above a whisper, while I leaned against the counter, maintaining a comfortable stanchado. "Comfort him," I gently stated, "that you need not disclose anything if it make us so uncomfortable, although occasionally discussing it might be beneficial." He nodded deliberately, his gaze directed towards the floor. I have been grappling with an issue, and was uncertain whom to consult. His susceptibility surprised me. Guard Logan had consistently exhibited independence and self-reliance, so his decision to confide on me, an individual with whom he seldom discussed personal issues, was noteworthy. "What is it?" I inquired, maintaining a neutral and encouraging tone. He paused while massaging the nape of his neck. "It pertains to my body, something abnormal, and I am uncertain if it warrants concern, or whether I am only overanalyzing." His remarks emerged hastily, as if he had been suppressing them for an expediency. I experienced a surge of compassion for him. "It likely required muck guts to express even that amount," I stated, selecting my words with precision. "You are not alone. Everyone has such inquiries at some juncture, and it is commendable that you are attentive to your health. Would you like assistance in resolving this matter?" He looked up at Meki's expression, a blend of relief and uncertainty. "I would not object, certainly not." I replied, presenting a comforting grin. We can address this together. As our conversation continued, the first discomfort began to dissipate. Logan articulated his concerns and his speech interspersed with anxious looks at the ground. I paid attention. As Logan spoke, I patiently provided reassurance and practical advice. The gravity of his concerns became increasingly evident. His voice quivered with each utterance, indicating how long he had suppressed these thoughts. The bathroom, warm and infused. The bathroom, with the scent of soap, appeared an unlikely venue for such an intermittent dialogue. Yet at that moment it was the only place that held significance. I suppose I just don't know if it's normal, Logan remarked, manipulating the edge of the towel. There is no guide for this matter. Correct, father is not quite the one I would choose to consult. His comments with implicit truth within them, slicing through the discomfort. Logan and David made a positive rapport, however an underlying gap persisted. The barrier Wasson, neither party appeared to comprehend how to surmount. To comprehend, I stated gently while leaning against the sink. It might be challenging to discuss some matters even with those nearest to you. However, addressing these issues is commendable. It is preferable to suppressing them within. He acquiesced while his countenance remained obscured. I just do not wish to appear peculiar, intrusive, I interjected softly. Everyone has such feelings at some juncture. Rest assured you are not peculiar. You exhibit courage by addressing the matter. However, his lips curled into a subtle grin, and for an instant I believed the tightness in his may dissipate. However, it was evident that he still had further thoughts. He confessed, his voice almost inaudible, that he feels disconnected from his identity and out of place, expressing uncertainty about his own issues. The poignancy of his comments overwhelmed me. This issue transcended her physicality. It was a profound problem that had been troubling him for an extended period. After a moment's contemplation, I reassured Logan, stating that there was nothing amiss with him. He was only navigating his thoughts, which is very acceptable since no one had all the answers, particularly at his age. He looked up at me, his eyes probing mine for affirmation. I genuinely believe it that to be the case, I said confidently, that I would assist him, and regardless of the circumstances we would resolve this collaboratively. For the first time Logan's demeanor softened a little. He reclined against the wall, still gripping towel, and exhaled deeply. I have never previously discussed this subject. He doubted anybody would comprehend. At times we fail to acknowledge others' capability, I remarked with a faint grin. One could be astonished by their capacity for comprehending if afforded the opportunity. Yet it is quite acceptable to be discerning regarding whom you confide in, since not everyone needs access to all information. He nodded once more, this time with greater assurance, affirming that it made sense. If dialogue transitioned thereafter, shifting from the burden of his initial apprehensions to more pragmatic issues. I provided counsel based on my experiences and understanding, maintaining a light tone, mindful of avoiding any semblance of judgment or discomfort during our conversation. I observed a transformation in Logan. The normal guardedness that enveloped him appeared to disappear, supplanted with a cautious openness. It appeared that he was now letting himself perceived, not only by me but also by himself throughout the chat. I observed his arousal increasing as he gazed at me, which was expected given my gender, yet I must deny that it intrigued me due to its considerable size. I provided assistance, I washed it, and occasionally held it out of necessity. However, during those instances, I preferred to manipulate it, moving it up and down. I was uncertain of my thoughts, yet I recognized this would not be my final occasion holding it. After what seemed like hours, the conversation began to taper off, and the earlier tension in the bathroom dissipated, supplanted by tranquility. Logan gazed at me, his expression a blend of gratitude and relief. Thank you, he said softly. I never anticipated being able to discuss this with anyone. I smiled and extended my hand to softly stroke his shoulder. 2 a.m. Pleased, am pleased you did, and remember that you may always approach me if you require a discussion about anything, regardless of the circumstances. I am here for you, he nodded, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. As I rose to exit the bathroom, experienced a peculiar amalgamation of emotions. On one hand, I felt relief that Logan had confided in me and that I had been able to assist him, yet on the other hand, I could not dispel the notion that this was merely the inception, that his struggles encompassed more than he was revealing. The evening proceeded calmly thereafter. Logan withdrew to his room, leaving me alone in the living room, cradling a cup of tea. As I reflected on our chat, it was uncommon. Logan's decision to confide in me was meaningful, yet it instilled a persistence. What if he had more struggles that I was unaware of, and what if I wasn't able to support him adequately, prepared to assist him? Questions ended my thoughts as the hours elapsed. Ultimately, I compelled myself to retire for the night, but slumber eluded me. I lay awake, gazing at the ceiling, that day's burdens weighing heavily upon me. Despite the encroachment of uncertainties, one certainty remained: I would do every effort to support Logan, unaware that the events of that evening were but the commencement. In the ensuing days, an unusual, almost palpable tension pervaded the atmosphere, but outwardly, everything coppered ordinary. Logan continued his pattern, working part-time at a nearby cafe, spending time in his room, and evading the more serious subjects we had discussed. Nonetheless, I could not dispel the sense that something had changed. An indefinable, yet palpable connection existed between us. I attempted to normally following Logan's disclosure, and I endeavored to provide him with. I believed everything would be fine, yet there were subtle indications that drew my attention. There were subtle indications. Bird. Him withdrawing into himself, his gaze evading mine as we passed in the hallway, and the tension in his shoulders. Whenever I attempted small talk, it seemed as though he was retreating into an inaccessible realm, one he had not permitted me to enter. On evening at dinner, as we sat in silence, I noticed him glancing at me from the corner of his eye. Our eyes met for a brief moment before he quickly averted his gaze, his cheeks wreathing. This ephemeral exchange left me with an unsettling sensation, as if an unarticulated tension lingered between us. I endeavored to dismiss it, but it proved challenging. The connection we had appeared to be evolving into an ambiguous state. Despite David's typical hopey demeanor upon returning home that night, and our adherence to our regular ritual, Logan sensed an underlying disc. He was quieter than usual, and I observed his eyes frequently drifting toward me during the evening, only to avert when I noticed. It was subtle, yet evident. The next day, after David left for work, I was alone in the home with Logan. While I was in the kitchen making lunch, I heard the faint sound of footsteps behind me. I glanced to observe Logan positioned at the doorway, his demeanor uncertain. I welcomed him, attempting to maintain a cheerful tone. Is everything satisfactory? He gazed at me momentarily, then nodded affirming. Ease. I merely wished to converse, accompanied by a slight indication of nervousness conceived in my gut. This was the moment that had lingered in the air between us for days. I placed the knife down. I had been utilizing it and turned to confront him completely. What are your thoughts, Logan? I inquired. My voice remained composed, despite the anxious fluttering in my chest. He hesitated, shuffling from one foot to the other, as if contemplating whether to articulate his thoughts. I have been experiencing a peculiar sensation recently. He started his speech slowly and deliberately, as though selecting his words with precision. I am unable to articulate it precisely, but this indefinite concern has been troubling. May focused entirely on him, observing how his gaze fell to the floor, evading my on. It is understood that you can communicate with me, correct? I gently stated. If something is troubling you, I am. He did not respond immediately. Instead, he exhaled deeply, as if preparing himself for what lay ahead. He eventually said, I am uncertain about me current state. His voice laden with doubt. My heart broke for him, as he perceived the vulnerability in his eyes. The uncertainty that had previously clouded his expression during our initial conversation lingered. The Logan before me was markedly different from the one I had once known. He bore an invisible weight, a burden he appeared unseen how to manage. It's all right, I said, gently approaching him and placing a hand on his shoulder. You need not have all the answers immediately. At times we lack clarity, but we can navigate this together. He met my gaze, his eyes reflecting a blend of gratitude and an indefinable emotion. There was a raw honesty in his look, revealing the authentic Logan. For the first time, he confessed in a scarcely audible voice that he felt disoriented and uncertain of his identity and place in the world. I recognize that I am no longer a child. Notheless, at times I feel uncertain about the process of maturation, as if Eom, ensnared in the sincerity of his revelation, surprised me more than anticipated. Again, was contending with deeper emotional issues beyond just physical changes or embarrassment. Many others share that sentiment, Logan, I remarked, gently grasping his shoulder. It is understandably challenging to comprehend everything's emulist in, but you are not alone in your endeavor. Both your father and I are here to support you. He caught my stare, and his countenance softened, although a glimmer of uncertainty remained in his eyes. I just do not like to impose on anybody. Your presence is not a burden. Despite my issues, I promised him, my tone irresolute. We will always be a family, and in challenging times we remain united. Gave a deliberate nod. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly, as if my mention provided him with a modicum of comfort. For the remainder of the afternoon, Logan appeared more at ease. He remained in the kitchen, assisting me with the dishes and engaging in light conversation. His customary reticence was supplanted by a cautious openness. It was the first occasion in days that had assembled the Logan I had known, slightly less guarded and more relaxed. However, despite his smiles, Andy was concealing his eyes. Slaughter. I could not dispel the sense that there remained unspoken burdens. He was concealing his eyes were not completely opened, and I saw that this yet, however significant, was only the commencement. Later that evening, when I reclined in bed, I contemplated all that had transpired following that event. Logan confided in me more than he had in years. However, I sensed there remained undisclosed aspects of his persona, elements he was not prepared to reveal. Nonetheless, one fact was unequivocal: I was resolute in my commitment to assist him regardless of the duration or challenges involved in the endeavor. This extended beyond just physical health or uncomfortably. The focus was on assisting Logan in discovering his path in life, providing assistance as he maneuvered through the many challenges of maturation as the days progressed. I saw that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would confront them together, marking only the start of our journey. The days following our conversation exhibited a fragile equilibrium. Logan had become more candid, and I perceived a sense of relief in him as if he had relinquished a burden. However, despite his enhanced demeanor and hesitation, persisted an unarticulated tension that lingered between us, akin to a secret awaiting revelation. As the week progressed, I contemplated the outcome of our discussions and whether Logan genuinely felt capable of fully confiding in me. He entrusted me with significant aspects of his life, instilling in me a profound sense of duty to support him as he navigated his internal struggles. Yet there remained an elusive quality I could not identify which became palpable. Whenever I gazed into his eyes, there were instances when it appeared he was on the brink of something momentous, something that would alter everything. One evening after dinner, Logan was more aloof than normal. He scarcely engaged in conversation during the meal, providing and detached replies to my inquiries. I saw him many times, although he consistently averted his gaze, as if absorbed in his own reflections. After supper, while David withdrew to the living room to watch television, I stood in the kitchen, preoccupied with the dishes, yet I could not dispel the sense that something was off. Logan reappeared in the doorway, his countenance in skull. His eyes, often filled with uncertainty, were now obscured by an incomprehensible darkness. My pulse raced as I turned to confront him. Drying my hands on a dish towel, I inquired gently, attempting to maintain a neutral tonal thou. The anxiety in my voice was difficult to conceal. Is all well? He nodded, yet refrained from entering the room. A prolonged stillness ensued, as we remained there, and I sensed the burden of his emotions, suspended between us. Logan stated in a subdued tone that he had been contemplating their discussion. Appeared almost reluctant regarding your statement about being present for me. He stopped, then advanced a step closer, his expression taut. I believe I need to discuss another matter with you, one that I have been unable to comprehend. My pulse accelerated at his words. As I walked closer, my heart laden with a blend of anxiety and intrigue. Of course, Logan, whatever it is, we will address it. He exhaled heavily, raking a hand through his hair, a nervous motion I had grown to recognize with periods of vulnerability, stating that one need not bear the burden alone. It is hard for me to articulate this, Hesed, his voice quivering slightly, but I must convey something to you. I had been troubled for some time, uncertain of whom to consult. I remained motionless, my breath constricted in my throat, acutely aware that whatever it was, it held considerable importance. I refrained from exerting pressure on him, yet I decided to provide my support. Hence, I only nodded in encouragement. He hesitated, his gaze momentarily directed to the floor before he hesitated, his gaze looking upon mine. I am uncertain how to articulate this, but I have been experiencing a profound shift about the words that lingered in the air, so witty and unforeseen that they caught me off guard. I blinked, uncertain whether I had comprehended him accurately. Different, I said, my voice just above a whisper, my heart beating. What do you mean? Logan swallowed audibly. His jaw clenched as he struggled to maintain his calm. He expressed his confusion, stating that he has been doubting several aspects of his identity. Believe I may have developed feelings for you. I hesitated to articulate my thoughts, uncertain if my feelings were just my own, although upon further reflection, they increasingly resonated as genuine. His admission rendered me immobile. I gazed at him, uncertain of my response. His words were indistinct as I endeavored to comprehend their meaning. My pulse raced and my mind was in a verge attempting to comprehend what I was hearing. This was not what I had anticipated, it was not what I had prepared. For when I vowed to support him, however, as I gazed into his eyes, I perceived the unfiltered truth and urgency. Logan was not requesting anything, he was merely attempting to comprehend his emotions. In that moment, I recognized his need for an However, I cannot dismiss the relief I felt as I recalled the dimensions of his anatomy in the bathroom, a thought that frequently excited me. Inhaled slowly and steadily, attempting to quell the turmoil within me, I said gently, my voice quivering slightly, I am grateful for your presence, but I must convey something to you. I halted in my quest for the appropriator termini. You are not flawed, you are only experiencing a perplexing situation. It is acceptable to feel disoriented at times. However, it is important for you to comprehend that the subject we are discussing is intricate. This circumstance is intricate, he nodded high size. Reflecting a blend of trepidation and relief, I was uncertain about whom to confide in, and I preferred not to no longer bear this. His voice faltered slightly, revealing his weakness. This was not about desire, it was about Bilderton seeking a safe haven in an unexpectedly overwhelming invention. I approached him and placed a soft touch on his shoulder. Logan, stated my tone, unwavering yet imbued with compassion, I shall always be. I am available to assist you, but this circumstance needs meticulous consideration. Your feelings are valid, but we must proceed with caution. I am unable to do so. I cannot provide what you desire in the manner you now anticipate, and I wish to avoid guiding you down a course that may be detrimental to both of us. He gazed at me, his lips quivering, as if anticipating me withdrawal or a request for his departure. However, I remained stationary, attempting to provide solace in the only manner I understood. I assured him that I would always be a confidant, yet we must discern the implications of our situation without haste. Then an internal transformation occurred. Within me, I contemplated why I did not acquiesce to his request. It was also exhilarating for me, so why not? After a moment of hesitation, I encircled his neck with my hands and kissed him. He bestowed a kiss, returned my kiss, and it was as though a bomb of desire had detonated within both him and myself. I apologize for the confusion, Logan, I stated after a little pause. It is inconsequential. This is why, I'd responded without hesitation. I ceased kissing him and descended. I had desired since the time in the restroom, as I was preoccupied and glanced up. I observed that he was deriving pleasure from this. This is extraordinary, remarkable, he murmured after approximately 10 minutes. I observed that he was nearing his conclusion, prompting me to accelerate my pace. Subsequently an extended silence ensued, which neither of us spoke. The gravity of his words lingering in the air. An extended silence ensued. Gradually, Logan inhaled deeply, his shoulders easing, as if he had been restraining his breath for an excessive duration. Thank you, he murmured to Dothis. I need that. It is my pleasure, I stated softly, my heart burdened by conflicting feelings. And remember that you need not resolve everything's Emuliston. You are not alone in this matter. After a brief pause, Logan stepped back. A little smile emerged on his lips as he quietly stated, I'm going to head upstairs. Thank you once again. I anticipate improved sleep tonight. Good night, Logan, I remarked, observing him up the stairs, a slight burden alleviate from his shoulders. But as I remained alone in the kitchen, I could not dispel a palpable sensation of transformation that lingered in the atmosphere. I recognized this time as crucial. It was a pivotal moment in our relationship, one that may result in healing or a more intricate situation. The subsequent days unfolded in an unusual silence. Palpable, although subtle, change occurred in the household environment. Logan had grown increasingly reclusive once more, but not in the same manner as previously. It was neither a palpable coldness nor an obviously identifiable remoteness. It appeared as though he was still assimilating all that we have. His efforts to comprehend his emotions and choose a path ahead. There were instances when he appeared disoriented, lost in contemplation. He gazed vacantly, his fingers unconsciously outlining designs on his pants or coffee cup. I endeavored not to exert excessive pressure on him. I saw that this was a matter he needed to navigate independently and at his own tempo. Although it proved challenging, while I aimed to honor his need for space, I simultaneously wished to provide me assistance to ensure he did not experience solitude. I could not overlook the apparent burden he bore. His typically vibrant eyes now exhibited a distant, vacant expression. One afternoon, while in the living room, I observed Logan traversing the hallway. His shoulders were hunched, his head bowed, and his gait conveyed a subtle heaviness. However, it conveyed significant meaning. I sensed that he was troubled by something beyond our previous discussions. Without contemplation, I rose and approached him, locating him at the base of the steps. He glanced up as I neared, taken aback by my abrupt arrival. Logan, I said gently, may we converse for a moment? He hesitated, appearing ready to retreat to his room, but then nodded slowly as if acquiescing to an internal desire to be heard. We proceeded into the living room, where he settled onto the couch, viewing me with a blend of trepidation and anticipation. It has been some time since we last met. If you thought that was shocking, just wait until you hear the next story I've got for you right here. It's even more unbelievable. But before you dive in, if you enjoy true stories like this, make sure to subscribe now and tell me in the comments what would you have done in this situation.